What is up, responsible day traders? Today is Monday, the 30th of May, 2022. I'm Jason Jordanella, head coach at RDT. I am standing in for Lindsay with today's E-mini futures weekly breakdown. So many of you guys at RDT will already know me, but for you guys that don't, it's really nice to stand in and cover the weekly breakdown video and finally get to say hello to you all. So let's start as always by taking a look at the E-mini futures weekly news here on the website. So if you don't know already, if you head to responsibledaytrading.com, under the news section, this is where you will find all of the relevant major news that you need to know for the upcoming week. Just click on the news here and select market news. So today is Memorial Day. It's a holiday. It's a national holiday in the US. The US markets are going to be closed. It's a time to relax and spend some time with your family. But looking forward to the rest of the week. We do have a lot of high volatility news every day of the week. So on Tuesday we have the consumer confidence. On Wednesday we have PMIs or ISM manufacturing PMIs, job openings as well. Thursday we have the non-farm employment change, more jobless claims, crude oil inventories, which should be a big one, non-farm payrolls on Friday, unemployment, and some more PMIs on Friday. So I would expect to see lots of volatility in the markets leading up to and during and shortly after these big news events. So you definitely want to be paying attention to these forthcoming news events. Maybe try and stay out the market if you're not someone that is familiar with trading news events. I personally like to stay out the market 15 minutes, 10 minutes before any of these major news events, and you will witness large volatility. And then once things starts to calm down a bit, then maybe I'm going to start looking to get involved again with the market. So let's take a look at our charts. So as always, we're going to start by looking at the daily chart. I'm just going to enlarge this chart here. Each one of these bars represents one day in the markets. These last few bars you see along here are last week's trading. Now, we did anticipate the potential for this move to the upside here. I know on Lindsay's weekly breakdown from last Monday, she did discuss the possibility for this to happen because we were seeing some key indications here of price moving back up to the EMAs. So let's break this down a little bit, what's been happening here. Previously, we did have the divergence that you see across here, and we revisited this previous support area here that was also a resistance area. You can see these key areas of price action bouncing off of this significant area in the market. We overrun it somewhat, but the divergence managed to cause price to make a big strong push to the upside, break through the EMAs, and it didn't really continue. It didn't hold at this area and it didn't continue to the upside. The EMAs went flat and rolled over, and we had that big strong move over the last few weeks to the downside here. So this is all the month of April and May. And then more recently, so last week or the week before, we had another divergence signal. And we weren't sure if the beginning of last week, whether these MACDs were going to be strong enough to push through the Bollinger Bands and break through to the other side. But there was the possibility of that happening, as price often wants to move back to retest EMAs. It was a significant overrun from the EMAs. You can see how wide and far apart they were, showing real strength to the downside. But this area here turned out to be, at least for the short to medium term, a significant support area, similar to what happened over here with this previous support and resistance area. We have another significant support and resistance area. Now, this area doesn't look as significant to me as the previous area that price broke through. So we'll see if that push has got enough momentum in it to really attract the buyers into the market to then we really want to see us break through this. This is a ceiling now, so we have this resistance area here that is a lot more significant than the support area over here, in my opinion. So what we're going to see is possibly some strong resistance in this area where price maybe pulls down. We might see some sort of more complicated retracements to the downside, maybe move back to this previous line here where you see a previous support area here, maybe put in some support and continue to the upside. So there's a number of scenarios that can happen. We just want to keep an open mind and trade what we're seeing, but it's good to build a narrative of potential scenarios playing out in the market environment. The MACDs have broken through the Bollinger Bands with a lot of strength and significance. You can just look at the distance between these actual BBs really strong. So it does have the potential to keep going and pushing straight through these areas. And I think with the big news that we're going to be having all through the week, you're going to see a lot of volatility, and there is the potential for price to break through this area and maybe make a new high from this previous one here, make a new high, pull back, maybe from some support over here and continue to the upside. That would be a big turn in the market, but I suspect more likely is that this is just a really deep retracement before potential continuation to the downside. Let's see how this resistance zone holds out. Expect to see a lot of price action around this area. If you look to the left here, where you can see quite a bit of volatility in this area over here, and we had some previously here, so we may get into this zone again and just chop around between these two fast and slow EMAs. That's what can happen. So we'll see how it goes. Markets are closed, so we'll see what happens starting on the pre-market and for tomorrow. Let's take a look at the next time frame down, so the 2657, for a closer view of things. And you can see from that big push to the upside I just showed you on the daily over the last few days or over a week, you can see the strength of that move to the upside, and it's gone basically parabolic to the upside. It's a lot of strength, really strong price action. Let me just stretch it out here so you can see it a bit clearer. In terms of what the MACDs are doing, we are seeing divergence across highs of the MACDs. That is a reversal pivot, so we may see, we've hit, as I mentioned on the daily here, we have just approached that EMA there, so that may provide some good resistance, alongside the fact that this is a very strong support and resistance zone anyhow. So we've got a really strong reversal pivot, strong white BB color changes here, 3 of them. It all depends on how strong that move really is, and if it's buyers are really looking to push this up further. But I do see the potential for, in the short term, some price action pullback to these EMAs. We can see a snapback potential where price likes to always gravitates towards the EMAs at some point, never wants to get too far away from them for too long. So you may short sell this towards the EMAs. So let's just zoom this in a little bit and look at a bit more detail. We can see this zone I've marked out between here and here is it's quite a bit of a congestion zone. You can see a lot of choppy price action previously here. This is where there's just sort of disagreement between buyers and sellers, and there's a lot of volatility in these areas. We're back in that zone again. We had a lot of previous volatility, so I could expect to see some more of the same thing here, some chopping around, possible exhaustion to the upside here before a pullback a bit lower. So let's take a look at the 1597 for a more zoomed in perspective over what's been happening in the pre-market. So this is the pre-market over the weekend leading up to Monday open. So what's happened here, we've had really strong price action to the upside, the fast EMA really stretching away from the slow EMA. We're getting some good distance away from that EMA, and then we start to put in a couple of pivots here. We retrace, continue to the upside, extend, retrace, extend, and that is the top of this move, as you can see on the daily as well. Well, if you look at the MACDs, what's happening here, what's significant is, we have those 3 pivots here, but we can see significant divergence across those 3 pivots here, indicating the potential for that to be exhaustion to the upside and for a turnaround in the immediate price action for the short term. This is a trade opportunity that we look out for at responsible day trading. Exactly what happens is price moves down, so we can see the potential for that to happen from the information we're getting on the MACDs and converging that information with what we're seeing on the higher time frames. The fact that we are at the EMA and at a significant resistance area, this is an exhaustion move to the upside. We make that snapback or pullback to the EMAs, try to put in a little bit of support here, it's not holding, and then continues down to the higher time frame EMA. Expectation for tomorrow is potentially we will just keep going to the downside, given the strength of the MACDs through here. You can see how the MACDs were, the BBs were far apart and pulling away from the Bollinger Bands, skidding off them straight through the zero line, no respect of that zero line. Another skid there and continuation. We are getting a bit of a color change on the MACDs, and we are at a sort of extreme distance away from the zero line, which you don't see all that often, although we have seen it a few times last week. Generally we stay closer to the zero line, so we do have, you know, an oversold potential there where we are really far away from the zero line. Let's see what happens. I think obviously everything depends on what happens on the pre-market, which way it's going to go, but potentially we could just oscillate in between, get stuck in between these EMAs, but at some point a decision is going to have to be made, and are we going to continue to the upside and break into these areas on the daily, maybe make higher highs, or is that going to fail? They're going to find some resistance up here and things start to continue to the downside, which is in line with, you know, the overall direction of the market for the last couple of weeks. Next significant area is this area I've marked out here, where we may find some support over here. If we do get down here, we have to pay attention to what happens with price action here, and after that, you know, there's an even more significant area down here. That's it for the weekly market breakdown. My name's Jason Jordanella, head coach at Responsible Day Trading. If there's anything we can do for you, if you want to reach out, ask any questions, we're always here for you. You can find our contact details across all social media, on the website, or leave a comment on the video. That'd be great. Take care out there, guys. Next week, lots of news, big news. Pay attention to those, and I will see you on the other side. Take care.